a tum-tum tune, a cook for yoon.
Welcome to the Bumblebears podcast. We're your hosts, Willie and Sans.
Yeah, so I recently unlocked this Cantonese childhood nursery
Yeah,
rhyme.
because we've been singing them to our daughter and like finding them on YouTube. And I was playing them on YouTube, and then this one came on, and Willie was like, "Oh my God, my parents used to sing that to me." So now it's stuck in our head, and it goes,
Tum tum June, a cook for you, chow may bang, oh, always good. Yeah, and
Yeah, we
stop.
I love it.
Actually, I love it too.
Anyways,
it's not the worst song that's been stuck in our head.
That's true. Anyways, it's us, Willie and Saz, coming to you from our couch, and we are backyard beekeepers with a keen interest in all things bee-related. And, we are so consistent with our uploads, so we just thought we'd pop in and give a little update today. We will be updating you on the new season, and we will also be discussing a question we got from a follower.
Yeah, so one day we will be able to upload more consistently, but in the meantime, we've been doing our due diligence with the bees. A lot's actually happened, because, well, that's how long it's been since we updated, but our hives are doing well. We have some, if you go to our Instagram, which is Bumblebear Farms, you may have seen some bee-related spam. We have some hives at our good friend's place at Lannerdale Cherrywell in Wandon. It's cherry season now, and for all of you based in Melbourne, which listen to this, which I think all our listeners are based in Melbourne.
Go to Lannerdale Cherry Farm because they have the most incredible cherries at like a really good price, and they are the nicest people in the world.
Yeah, I think 3 of our 5 listeners are from Melbourne, so
yeah. If you're ever driving like in the Wandon, Warburton area, do yourself a favor and go to Lannerdale.
Yeah, because you can pick it yourself if you want to have a day out, or you can get some pre-picked ones.
Yeah. So, anyways, with our current season, pretty much all of our hives survived the winter. I think we lost 2.
Yeah, 1 to the bod.
Yeah, this funny little nest happened in one of our hives, and that obviously poorly affected the hive, and it did not make it through the winter. Another one, I think what happened, it was just weak to start with, wasn't it?
Yeah, I collected a swarm super late in the previous season, in the 18-19 season, and I was just slow because we had Lemmy and stuff, and we had to move house. And I could have probably combined it with another hive, but I didn't get around to it, so that's pox on me. It would have been nice if we didn't lose that nuke, but it happened.
But in the grand scheme of things, everyone else is doing really well.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Willie's done a couple of swarm collections, some of which have gone very well, and some of which have not gone so well.
Yeah, we had a super spicy situation. These bees were in someone's house for well over a year, and
yeah, so they were well established. They were loving their home. They did not want to leave, and so when Willie starts pulling off our esteemed colleague started pulling off the weather boards, they got angry.
Yeah, they got pretty angry. I think the issue was because I had to get secondhand translation because it was from a gentleman whose English was his second language. From the way it was described to me, I think it wasn't great, but they weren't the most feisty bees. But probably with overcrowding, they somehow requeened themselves to be extremely feisty, and then it just became untenable. Like they couldn't walk out the front door without getting stung at least once or twice. So then they contacted another gentleman who I've been trying to help out with his beekeeping, endeavors.
He's basically Willie's Padawan learner.
Yeah.
And he I think he very much is Willie's Padawan learner in that he's like, I'm ready to face the trials, because that was an example of he got a little too excited and jumped the gun, and that ended up making the whole experience a little bit.
It was a baptism of fire.
Yeah.
But hey, we all survived. And you know what? I did get hold of GM the other day, and he said the bees are doing well. So
That's
success.
Yeah.
Even though we both got stung around 40 times.
Yeah, Willie came stumbling home, and he was all puffed up like a balloon, and he was just knocked out from getting stung so much. So that was bad.
Yeah.
But you know what? They did it. They got the bees out, and it's all good.
Yeah. I hear that a lot of inner city beekeepers. I hear a lot of Melbourne inner city beekeepers are also having a really good season. Like, I think it's been a good season in Melbourne Metro all round. There's definitely some esteemed beekeepers which have already collected their first harvest this weekend, so that is awesome.
We're not quite there. I think one of our sites might be ready for next weekend, but we're not sure if we're going to be able to swing it before we go to America for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where the bees come first, so if it's not ready, it's not ready.
Yeah, we're definitely not trying to push our harvest, and rather let them, build up their stores.
Yeah, and like there's an age-old wisdom, which it sounds super cliche, but can't be stressed enough. Like, you don't have to harvest. Like, you're not improving the hive.
It's just a bonus, really, for everybody.
So yeah, where we will have a peak. We will have see if there is a surplus. Because I know that your fam really like.
Yeah, honey. It would be cool if we could take some for our family, but anyways, that's pretty much how our season has been going so far, and everything's looking good. We're just trying to get organized and making sure we have, all of our bees in the right, I guess, locations that are convenient for us and also good for the bees.
Yeah, and in good numbers as well.
Yeah, so it's a balancing act, but we are working on it.
Yeah.
The second point that we wanted to bring up today is we actually got this comment quite a while ago, and we just haven't quite addressed it yet. This is from our follower, Dandelion Danny. Shout out to you, Danny. Love you so much. She says, how can I take care of the bees and help them thrive if I am afraid of them?
That is a legit good question, and it's probably something that doesn't get talked about enough, because it's a little bit like that South Park joke. It's like, step 1, save the bees. Step 2.
Step 3, everyone's happy. Yeah, it's
like profit. Yeah. And then it's just like, what do I do?
And especially because, let's be real here, a lot of people are afraid of bees.
Yeah. The first impulse is, and it's great that Danny brought this up. She goes, "Yeah, I'm afraid of bees." So, even if she had the resources to, beekeeping is not tenable, for her, and actually, like, beekeeping is not like viable for many people, which are bee lovers, just because, it
takes a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, and it's not a it's not the most cheapest venture to dive into straight away, and it's also
physically taxing. You need space. Like, it's not easy for everyone to do.
Yeah, and late nights.
But let's just go through some bullet points of how people can be a steward of the bees when they are afraid of bees.
Cool. So I've tried to we'll try and fire this off in like least intensive to most intensive, as far as going out of your way and effort. So
why don't we start it from most intensive?
Okay, most intensive. Well, in that case, like, if you actually have to physically do something, I'd say you can build these things which are colloquially known as bee hotels.
Yeah, they're very cute. You've probably seen them somewhere. It looks like a little kind of a dollhouse with like toilet paper rolls in it, basically.
Yeah, but it's actually, upon further examination, like similar to, like, say, a birdhouse, you can just keep in your on your property to allow for little mods to hang out and stuff. You can actually make these things called like these little bee hotels, motels, holiday inns, and it's like a little alcove, and you put like varying sizes of like hollow bamboo or like reeds or like straws in there, and because a lot of native bees in the world are actually solitary, so they don't form a
Colony.
nest, like a nest or colony as like the European honeybee, and they're just looking for like a little small narrow space.
Little hidey hole.
Yeah. So there are a lot of good tutorials on the internet on how to build one, but it can be as simple as if you have like an empty cardboard box and like shoved some reeds in there and lay them down the side, that will be awesome.
Yeah, pop it in a tree, pop it out in your backyard somewhere.
Yeah, or on your balcony.
Yeah.
Or in your local place of work. I would say that's probably that might seem a lot of effort, but that will do a lot for the local pollinator.
Okay, the other thing I would say that would be good to do that requires some effort is to support your local beekeeper, because I know that that may not be 100% viable for everyone, because maybe you live in an area where there's not somebody local, but you probably do live in an area where there is a local beekeeper. It would just take a little bit of searching.
Yeah, and I know like some people have sweet tooths, and you're like, oh man, I've gotten used to buying Audi honey for like $4 a pop, and
Don't do it.
And there is like a significant price hike from your local beekeeper,
but then it's pure, and it's coming from the the local area. There's kind of something special about that, I think.
Yeah, and your local beekeeper like will be able to I guess for the skeptical out there, they can fire off bullet points as to just like we've had to in the past, like what entails, can you please give me a breakdown of this cost? And it's just like it is a very especially.
It takes us like all day to do an extraction, and I mean sometimes all night. So yeah, it's not exactly easy. We'll discuss how time consuming and basically the step-by-step of doing a harvest and extraction on another podcast.
Yeah, from a small scale operation. But yeah, like your local beekeeper, I promise you, like, okay, if they're pulling up to the farmer's market in like a Tesla, maybe they are ripping you off. Or maybe they're very successful, but maybe they are ripping you off in their honey sales. But the chances are, like, your local beekeeper is probably driving a 10-year-old like Holden sedan.
Or a Nissan X-Trail.
Yeah, or this Nissan X-Trail, which has been reversed into the generator at work too many times and has no spare tire, and is only recently got new wheels.
And recently got the fermented honey cleaned out of the wheel.
So the chances are that's your local beekeeper. So I promise they're not trying to rip you off. So the other thing which requires some sort of I guess physical output from yourself, which is planting some flora.
Yeah, like planting a garden in general, looking after your garden, and planting flowers, especially flowering herbs, are a big favorite of the bees, such as lavender and thyme and rosemary and things like that.
Yeah, so, and other than the fact that they smell and look really nice, like you'll probably notice that, once they're in bloom, you have, lots of bees buzzing around it. And tips on flowers, I won't go into detail because there's way more knowledgeable people on the internet about this. But some people plant like singular wildflowers and they're wondering how come bees aren't coming to this? And it's because a scout bee isn't going to send information back to the hive to collect flower from this like solitary app.
Yeah, like it has to be worth it for them to come to a specific area. They're not gonna care that much,
Yeah, so that's why there's something like a lavender bush or like a rosemary bush. You do see lots of bees, or when mint flowers, you see a lot of bees flying out to it because it's worth the trip out.
Yeah, and another thing that's good to plant is trees. bees.
Yeah, so we bought this grevillea recently, which we've been meaning to put into the ground, which we've nicknamed Gretel.
Yeah, it's in the pot right now, but I think we're gonna put it in the ground soon. And it has these really cool, like, red bottle brush flowers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're gonna put that in the ground and let the bees have fun on it.
Yeah, and yeah, because when that's in bloom, that's going to be many mouths which can be fed.
Yay.
Other things that you can do to be the steward of the bees is, some minor, lifestyle changes, which we think is minor. Well, the first one is, if you have a garden, just be wary of the type of pesticides you're using, or if you're using pesticides at all.
Because research has shown that pesticides are harming bees. I mean, it only makes sense, right? Pesticides are designed to kill insects, right?
Yeah, so you've probably invariably come across a lot of press that there was a big court case between the European Union and Monsanto, and about because the European Union wanted to completely ban the use of neonicotinoids, and prohibit the sale not just in the agricultural sector but even in the domestic sector as well. And Monsanto put up a really big fight against it. And in lay terms, what they basically said is you can't prove definitively that they're harmful to bees. And apparently the European Union High Court won because they said, well, you can't definitively prove that they're not harmful to bees.
Oh my god, that's basically that's like a kindergarten argument.
Well, that's the breakdown in a nutshell. It went on for over a year.
But good on them. And unfortunately, that's not the case here.
They basically said, well, there's a decline in bee numbers. If you can provide irrefutable scientific proof that your pesticides are harmful to all the bad insects but not harmful to bees, we'll allow you to sell it. And their scientists were not able to produce that data, so therefore it is illegal in Europe. However, it is not illegal in Australia. So, even things like herbicides, such as Roundup, which is super effective. I know, when weeds are out of control, I can spray some weeds, but they're really bad.
Yeah, it's really bad.
But even though they're really effective, so I implore you to look at more natchy ways for
get down on your knees and pull up the weeds yourself.
Yeah, which is
we do.
Yeah, we've got
backbreaking, but
hands and knees.
It's worth it.
Yeah, but if you're not the gardening person, even things like think about the sort of household chemicals that you guys use, from your dish soaps to your laundry detergent.
And just generally trying to lessen your carbon footprint, because as we discussed on a previous podcast, the bees do in fact absorb pollutants that are on the flowers.
Yeah, and there is a threshold of how much pollutant there can be on a flower before it becomes untenable to take back to the hive. So, we live in we coexist in a world with the bees, and the environment is an extension of bee health in general. So if we trash the world, then that's not going to be good for the bees as well. So it's everything is interconnected.
Yeah, the ecosystem, just like grills. Ecosystem. But yeah, that is basically our little roundup of ideas we have for you for ways to be kind to the bees, even if you are afraid of them. You don't have to touch them. You can do any of those things or all of those things, and the bees will thank you.
Yeah. So we're going to be preparing some exciting new episodes over the Christmas break for you while we are having winter Christmas in America land.
Yeah, where the bees are sleeping right now.
Yeah, and we have a new logo. We have to give a shout out.
We do have a new logo. Shout out to Noor. You are amazing for doing that. It's super cute, and we finally have a logo.
Yeah, so expect to see that slapped around everywhere.
Yeah.
And
hey, we can see that you love the bees. Message us for some Love the Bees merchandise.
Okay. We gotta
we'll talk about that on another podcast.
Yeah, but until then, like if you don't hear from us, like all the best with your holidays, and um we'll keep doing the bee thing and making sure they have a good Christmas as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's about it from us. And we're gonna just lay on the couch and melt into it. So thanks for listening, everybody.
yeah,
And remember that you too can be a steward of the bees by being kind to bees.
and watching the bee movie.
Never. Bye.
Bye.